Another day, another case of possible police brutality. This time, the situation occurred in Los Angeles, where the LAPD was caught on tape shooting a homeless man to death. Now, at this point, the story is very new. We don't have all the details, but we do have some details indicating that the police might have overreacted in this case. Now, they were called to the scene over a possible robbery, and apparently they got into a scuffle with a homeless man who had been in a mental institution for over 10 years and had just been on the streets for about a few months. Apparently, they wanted him to take his tent down, and this is in Skid Row in Los Angeles, where homeless people are allowed to have a tent up during the nighttime, but have to take it down during the day. Now, at that point, the man who goes by the name Africa got confrontational with the police. He got a little violent. He allegedly threw a punch, and then this happened. We're going to show you the video. It's very graphic. With that warning, take a look. All right, so let me give you the details, Cenk, before you jump in. The Huffington Post reported on this in a little more detail. They said the video shows a confrontation in which the homeless man appears to throw a punch at police as officers try to contain him. One officer drops his nightstick, you could see that in the video, which a woman picks up off the ground. Two officers push her to the ground and restrain her. You can see her getting arrested toward the front of the video.
And let me just say, there's no dispute. You saw the video. The guy threw a punch.
Yeah, he threw several punches. Okay, so let's be clear about that. Meanwhile, several officers fight the man to the ground. At least one officer can be heard repeatedly shouting, "Drop the gun," after which 5 gunshots can be heard.
I'm going to stop you right there again, because I listened to that video many, many times, and it's possible he's saying drop the gun, and if you think he's saying drop the gun, that's what it sounds like. But when I first heard it, it sounded like get off my gun. And if you listen to it with that in mind, it does also sound like get off my gun, as if the guy reached for the officer's gun.
Right.
Now, I don't know which one he said, and you can hear the tape just as well as I can. Okay,
yes.
But I want to explain, the articles I've read don't mention that as a possibility, but I saw it and I heard it with my own ears, and you can too. Understand that might be what the officer said.
Right. So for those of you who are wondering at this point whether or not he had a gun, there was a police commander who released a statement saying that he was not armed. He said, "I don't know what they found on this individual. Obviously, he didn't have a firearm." So cops are now alleging that he reached for a cop's gun, which could have been possible. The video is obviously not clear enough to see that. And so a proper investigation will hopefully reveal other surveillance that shows whether or not that was true. Now, there were witnesses there. One of those witnesses was Yolanda Young, and she released a statement to CBS 2. Here's what she had to say. "Next thing I know, dude swung on a cop and the cop swung back, and they were hitting him, and then 2 other cop cars pulled up and they got out of the car and ran over there, and they had 3 tasers out." So that was her, that was her analysis of what had happened. What I found interesting was that they were tasing him repeatedly, and apparently that wasn't enough to restrain him.
Okay, so everybody that knows in LA, that lives in LA, knows that the people on Skid Row, some of them do not have mental issues, but some of them most certainly do,
yes.
Right? That shouldn't be a surprise to any police officer in Los Angeles. Now, that's common sense almost anywhere you live anyway. You've got a homeless man who's acting, very questionably. You know that it's likely to be a mental issue, right? So you want to take care. You don't want to put yourself in significant danger, obviously, right? But at the same time, you know that he doesn't necessarily mean badly. Like, he doesn't have bad intent. He doesn't think like, oh, I'm going to kill a cop today. Now, that doesn't mean that he won't, because if you're having mental issues, you can cause a lot of damage.
Right.
But first of all, train the cops. We've covered it before. There are cities that do train the cops, and the number of people killed that have mental issues drops significantly. Train the cops. Train them.
So there are cities in Texas, of all places, where they realized that this was becoming a really big issue with police enforcement. They realized that a lot of their cops would have to deal with individuals that had mental illnesses, and they weren't properly trained to deal with them. when they finally realize, all right, let's train the cops to deal with those who have mental disorders, mental illnesses, I mean, the number of deaths went down considerably, right? So all you have to do is train them so they know how to respond to these things appropriately. But I get it. I mean, he was throwing punches. He was violent. If you're not trained, you don't know how to handle that situation appropriately. I just don't understand how non-lethal weapons like tasers aren't enough. I don't understand how several cops on one individual is not enough. I don't know why you immediately have to fire a gun 5 times and kill someone.
So Brave New Films, by the way, has excellent videos on how you train cops and the success stories of what has happened in places like Texas when they train the cops right on mental issues. Now, on the cops, there's at least 5 cops in the video that you see in the beginning, let alone the number of cops that pour in later. Here's the key part. See, the guy's throwing punches. Yes, they're tasering him, and it's not exactly working. So that's a difficult situation. No one's saying that it's not a difficult situation. But it should not be a lethal situation. Even if I grant everything the officers are saying, and you think he's reaching for your gun, and you get worried, oh my God, he's reaching for my gun, right? That's when you get up instead of executing him. But cops are taught, you never give an inch, and you never take 1% chance with your well-being. So if you're taught that, what do? I can't retreat for a second from this person who's mentally ill. I have to be super aggressive. What lesson are you teaching him? He has mental illness. He's not learning any lessons. You don't have to exercise your dominion over him. Like, I'm giving you an order. I know, but he doesn't understand that. It's obvious he doesn't understand that. So retreat for a second. Be smart. You're not giving in to the guy, okay? He hasn't won. I know your ego is gigantic, and every cop is taught, you are the most important person. You must exercise your dominion over them. You get them to heal. I know. But you don't have to do that in every instance. You don't have to murder everybody that causes you a little bit of trouble and puts you in 1% danger. That cop in that moment should have, if he felt him go for the gun, stand up. You've got 4 other cops there. Stand up. Then he can't reach your gun. They're holding him down and tasering him, right? But instead, cop reaction, because of the training, I don't think any particular guy is particularly evil. I don't know those guys, right? But they're trained all across the country. Oh my God, he grazed my gun. Boom, 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 gone. Execute him.
Yeah.
Okay? No, you don't shoot a guy like that, man. I think we have to retrain our cops to be human beings, to be decent people who are there to say, hey, wait a minute now, I got a dangerous situation here, and I've got to help the community by getting this guy off the street while not killing him.